beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to dive deep into a subject that is the very heart of my work. Let's say this, all right? Monadic Twin Flames, and we are a very small community. And today we're going to talk about why we even split, right? In the 13D, why are we born out of a cosmic egg, and why not just be in the anti-material world? So that's what we're going to talk about, and how the body actually responds, because that's a huge part of the monadic twin flame journey. So, like, how the body learns to hold. So that's what we are going to talk about today. So this is not just about relationships. This is not about 3D romance. This isn't about will he text me, or when will he notice me. What we are talking about here is the original architecture of consciousness itself, us, the monadic twin flame. So if you have ever wondered why your connection feels so overwhelming, so destabilizing, so much bigger than anything else in your life, this is why. And today we're going to walk through why the monadic twin flame split, how recognition feels in the body, and why separation is about purging, and how the third energy forms, and then crucially how our nervous system, our emotions, and our entire embodiment gets rewired to hold this frequency. So let's go to the beginning. And this is it, and we have to sit with this. As monadic twin flames, we splitting with our divine masculine is not random. It's not a punishment. Look at it as like a sacred design, sacred intelligence. And why do we split? Because consciousness evolves most when it stretches to its furthest edge. You see where I'm going with this? And as monadic twin flames, when we cleave, it creates the deepest possible polarity, and the separation generates the potential for the greatest union. And with that union comes the field so powerful it can shift entire timelines, worlds, everything. That's why a big part of our journey as a monadic divine feminine is our awakening starts way before we meet our DM, and then after meeting, another activation takes place where our spiritual awareness totally turns around. So, I wanted to talk about the three main reasons why we split. To expand polarity. You and your divine counterpart, you and your divine masculine, are stretched to opposite extremes so that we cannot exist without separation and the return. So you see what I mean, right? We are split to the point where we are stretched to opposite extremes so we can grow. Because a frequency that does not exist without separation and the return. And secondly, to awaken the third energy. And like I said, in the cosmic egg, which is you have got the metaphorical amniotic fluid, which is the third energy, spiritual intelligence, and it's very unique to our pairing with our divine masculine. So that's the reason why the third energy is a frequency that does not exist without separation and the return. And thirdly, to encode mission. Each of us carry different clearances, skills, and soul codes. So that's why the union in itself is not personal, it's planetary, it's galactic, it's multidimensional and beyond. So that's why I want you to take a moment and really breathe in the three reasons. All right? Awakening, the third energy. It's never asleep, but more as to pull in the third energy field to get into mission and to expand the polarity. So that's why the split in itself is not cruelty, it's strategy. And as monadic twin flames, our design, we are just designed this way so that through us, evolution can take place. So, recognition. When we meet our divine masculine for the first time here on earth, the recognition is existential. It's not attraction alone, it's not chemistry alone. It's an instant collapse of illusion. That's why it's a coming of home feeling. You just know him before you even understand why. And what happens when two poles cross each other fields? Existential familiarity. You don't just recognize your divine masculine, you remember him. So that is the reason why often, we would feel the distortions like time bends, electronics, glitch, synchronicities multiply. Even the date that you meet on earth will be highly significant. You will have a lot of 222s. There will be some kind of internal meaning there. You will feel a lot of energetic surges. Your chest will tighten, your breath will shorten. You see, when the mind starts thinking, that's when the breath will shorten even further, because you are putting it, because this is your nervous system. Your body shakes because our nervous system is trying to carry a frequency it doesn't remember the training for. And then dream bleed through. You start meeting your divine masculine in dreams, visions, or in astral states. I'll give you an example. You just having a 5D visit with your DM. I mean, you just met your DM in 3D, and then you're thinking about him and meeting him in 5D, and then you receive a text exactly at that time, and you look at the clock, it's 11:11. You see how in the beginning it's all intertwined. It's the mind, our mind is the one that comes in and distorts everything. So that's why our whole being responds, because we are always calling ourselves home. So here's the part that hurts the most. The frequency is too strong to hold, right? So what happens? Collapse. When our divine masculine pulls away, silence falls. It feels like rejection, abandonment, or betrayal. But separation in itself is not rejection. Separation is calibration. Think of plugging a household lamp into a power station. The surge would destroy it instantly. That's what happens when we meet our beloved monadic divine masculine, because that's how the contact feels to the body. The surge, it does feel like annihilation. And that's why separation is the transformer being built so that the current can flow safely. So see it this way, the preparation in itself purges away everything that is unnecessary, so that when we get into union, we start stabilizing union, and we are able to live from soul in a 3D body. So the third energy shows up as sudden spiritual gifts activating. This is all of us. We have all experienced this, right? Like all of a sudden, like everything deepens. Our spiritual search deepens to the point I have no words. When I was in separation, I was just crying out to God. Literally, I was like, God, why? Why? Even as a child, I was always asking cosmic consciousness, why? And we always get the answers through clear cognizance. And usually that's what our DM does, right? He comes in, he sets the foundation, he activates our gifts, and then boom, he disappears. And what should we do? We have a choice here. We can perform, we can keep chasing him, or we can actually go into our mission. And I want to be very clear here about missions, because often not all missions are straightforward. You know, some missions are you just doing nothing is the mission, because you're either activating a grid or you're doing something on an energy level that, again, the 3D self is not meant to know. So that's the mission. And more missions become more clear, you know. And a lot of, like, you will lose old friends and new friends will come in, and timelines would be shifting around you. But here's the key: the third energy collapses under compulsion. So, example, if you keep chasing, demanding, or clinging, the field destabilizes. That's why often in surrender, you know, when you're totally detached, and for the detachment to occur, sometimes you need that time, that separation period, you know, to stabilize. That's why the third energy becomes self sustaining only when both you and your divine counterpart surrender to the 0 point state. And that's why 0 point is not indifference, it's presence without grasping, it's sacred neutrality, it's love without demand. And that's when your mission codes begin to unfold. So that's why you got to see it like that, all right? And this is what makes us monadic twin flames different. We are not here for a romance alone. We are here to anchor fields, and our union is not only an intimacy, it's galactic service and beyond. That's why grid work, you will notice that you're traveling a lot. Like when I was in separation, I was through work, I was traveling a lot. Through traveling, I was traveling a lot. I would like even ask myself, why am I here? You know, literally, I would go on solo trips and I'll find myself here and there, and I'll be like, why? Like every day was spontaneous. That's when I realized grid work. I was doing major grid work, and our field stabilizes energetic grids wherever you are. Sometimes you don't have to be on the move, sometimes where you are, it's happening too. Collective healing. Our coherence recalibrates those around us without effort. Big part is Starseed memory. Through each other, you access other lifetimes and other systems. Sometimes we feel, hey, our DM is not doing anything, but actually, he's remembering a lot more. I mean, like I say, when you get into union, you can ask your DM yourself, like, you know, at least in my case, that's what it is. When I ask my DM, it syncs. And divine union feel. Your stability becomes a living template for others to feel. So when you ache for union, remember this: you're not waiting for two bodies to sit side by side. You're learning to become the vessel through which, as monadic twin flames, you can meet each other again, like that cosmic ache situation, right? So even in silence, the work is happening. Every perch, every trigger, every heartbreak is part of the third energy pulling itself back into stability and wholeness. That's why I wanted to talk a bit about the nervous system reality. So now, let's get real. This isn't only spiritual, it's also biological. When you and your divine masculine cross fields, you know, when me and my divine masculine, we cross fields, our body registers it as cosmic recognition, but the nervous system doesn't know how to hold it. So what happens? Sympathetic surge. It's fight or flight kicks in, heart races, breath shortens. That's why when our DM is not ready and we keep pushing him, it will always turn out not so good. You know, he will end up, saying things that you don't want to hear. You know, you will end up doing things you don't want him to do either, you know, like blocking you on social media or just telling you he never ever wants to speak to you again. So dorsal collapse, the body freezes or shuts down. Often after a major rejection, we freeze or shut down. So we it takes months to even play back the event, like the blocking or the cutting off or him telling you never wants to see you again. That's when you see withdrawal, avoidance, or ghosting amplified. All right, then oscillation, which I've talked about a lot. The system flips between clinging and retreating, regulation and collapse. So this isn't about immaturity, it's about frequency overload. The body is designed for 3D relational load, not 13 dimensional monadic twin flames charge. You see, that's where you see it's 10 dimensions more. So that's why that's why I wouldn't want to call what we experience separation. It's not only separation, it's spiritual calibration. It is the nervous system's protection as well, you know. That's why we have a lot of emotional initiation in every monadic twin flame journey. There's a series of emotional initiations, and these are not punishments. These are actually thresholds. Firstly, the collapse of illusion, realizing that your DM is not your fantasy, but your mirror. The grief of separation, the ache that silence brings, which teaches us recalibration. The fire of anger, sacred rage that burns through illusions of rejection. And the despair, the dark night of the soul that tests whether you hold faith, and the return to zero. Surrender, where you're finally when you finally stop forcing outcomes. And I can really say this from experience. When I was in total detachment, you know, when I surrendered to my higher self, when I surrendered totally, when I just focused on my mission, I just focused on my day-to-day life, my work, my DM came back. So really, often, like I said, transitioning from the performance stage to the 0 point state is often the biggest challenge, because the mind becomes your enemy at this point. When your mind is your assistant, you're fine. You know, when you treat, you know, like I use my mind as my assistant so that I can operate in the 3D world, right? But when our mind becomes the master, that's when everything starts to, you know what I mean. So the initiations reshape our emotional body to hold our monadic twin flame frequency, the third energy field, so that it can be in its full potential. So remember, there are no accidents. There, everything happens. Everything is coded. All right, the stages of embodiment. So how does this actually unfold? Stage 1, recognition, the knowing, and then the destabilization. Stage 2, separation, rupture, silence, withdrawal. Stage 3, purge. So this is why sometimes it might take a couple of years here, you know. Traumas, karma, everything starts to burn off. And stage 4 is 0 point. Stillness, presence, non-grasping. And throughout these stages, our third energy is being activated in different loads. So that's why stage 5 is third energy activation to the fullest, you know, gifts awaken, missions clarity. Stage 6 is embodiment, nervous system adapts, daily life restabilizes. And our version of stage 7 is union, not just living together, but anchoring the divine union field. So let me just be very clear here. Embodiment doesn't look glamorous. It looks like breathing through the charge instead of panicking, not sending that 3 a.m. repair message, or not begging him, hey, never ever block me, or don't ignore me, or your nervous system panicking if he goes out and that he won't come back. Nope, none of it. Embodiment is sitting with grief without spiraling into despair, discovering your gifts and realizing, hey, this is part of our monadic twin flame journey, and that the third energy is moving through you, and living mission even if your DM is not physically by your side yet. So it's after this embodiment stage is when union happens, because embodiment is being in union now, and then everything else comes in together. So let this land. Your nervous system is not betraying you, it is adapting. Your emotions are not weaknesses, they are initiations. Your silence, your rage, your grief, they are not signs you're broken, these are thresholds. Embodiment means becoming the vessel through which we breathe as one. Union, when it anchors, will not be an happy ending of a love story. It will be the beginning of galactic, multi-dimensional, planetary service. You know, it's a planetary field of service, and this is what we are here for as monadic twin flames. So I hope this gives you guys deeper clarity, because you guys are always asking me, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more about monadic twin flames. So with that, I'll see you all again with another video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. All right, love you all, and see you all again.